We believe
Kong is the last of his kind.
Is that a mini Kong?
for centuries, there was harmony. The Titans were the guardians of nature, and the great apes became the protectors of humanity. We've discovered a signal. She can feel it. Kong, Godzilla, they can feel it too. Something is coming. Something even they're afraid of. You feel like going for a ride?
Thought you'd never ask.
Just try not to swallow your tongue.
What? Oh my God!
Oh my God.
That's not just a signal. That's a call for war. What is that?
Kong can't stop this on his own.
He won't be alone.
The last time those two met up was almost the end of Kong.
They don't have to like each other. They just have to work together.
Now I have seen everything.
We've made some minor augmentations.
Oh.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. They dropped a bunch of new Godzilla and Kong trailer footage, so we'll break it all down. There's a bunch of new scenes, a couple funny moments, too. Like, oh my God, they're actually doing this. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. I'll be giving movie tickets away when we get a little bit closer, too. Probably the biggest scene, like the one I was mostly referring to at the beginning of this, is Kong riding Godzilla, kind of like Gambit was riding Wolverine during the X-Men 97 trailer. That's all I could think of when I saw this scene, like, oh my God, they're doing the X-Men thing from that trailer. Basically, Gambit is kind of doing the same thing. Like, Gambit is riding Wolverine, using his power to charge Wolverine's claws up with pink energy, just like Godzilla is charged up with pink radiation energy, even though Kong isn't the one actually charging up Godzilla. But it's them going super bros. Like, is this even physically possible? Like, it gives you an idea for their relative power levels if Godzilla can handle the weight of Kong jumping on him. Like, Kong has almost as much mass as Godzilla. I think that Godzilla's just like a little bit bigger. So it'd be kind of like a giant skyscraper being thrown on top of another giant skyscraper. When it comes to movies like this, I try not to think about the physics too much. It's kind of like a big Marvel movie like Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame. Like, there's a certain suspension of disbelief. If you want a Godzilla movie that's like a serious type of drama, watch Godzilla Minus One. Fantastic movie, like probably one of the best Godzilla movies of all time. This movie, like Godzilla and Kong, is more of like a giant action flick. But there's a bunch of other new scenes too. Like there's a new scene of Shimo using her cold breath to try and freeze Godzilla while he's in the water. This seems like it's part of that larger wave scene, so this might be happening during their larger fight in Rio de Janeiro. We get a much wider shot of Shimo after she froze the entire bay area around the city, and she's shooting her cold breath into the sky. My early theory is that she's trying to hit Mothra, who might be flying in the clouds, and the scene is just part of the larger fight scene between all the Titans with Godzilla versus Shimo and Kong versus Scar King. And because it seems like Mothra is also in the movie, maybe she shows up to give them an assist like she did with Godzilla during King of Monsters. A lot of people have also commented on this, that they think that this Mothra that Gia is watching be born, or hatched technically, this scene here you can see Mothra in her eyes in the cocoon. A lot of people think that this is a totally new version of Mothra, and it's the child, like the offspring of the Mothra from Godzilla King of Monsters. Like she was actually killed during that movie, but she laid an egg before she died, and the egg is hatching now, and Gia's just watching that happen. That would flow with the theme of them showing a bunch of offspring of Titans during the movie. Like you have Zuko, who's the offspring of other ape Titans, kind of like Son of Kong style. Even though he's not meant to be Kong's actual biological son. Like Zuko seems like he's the offspring of two of the red apes who were captives of Scar King. Maybe his parents were killed by him at some point. And it just seems like at some point during the movie, Kong kind of adopts him as like a little brother. And at the end of the movie, Zuko will probably just be following him around everywhere. And they're finally introducing Shimo in a bigger way, who they're kind of using like an evil female Godzilla. But there are some theories that she's supposed to be the first Titan who ever existed, or part of that original line of Titans. They're a little fuzzy on the full timelines and complete history of the MonsterVerse. Like they haven't totally worked that out yet. They keep introducing new lore and backstory around them with each new movie. So it is possible that they introduce Shimo as the progenitor Titan, like the origin of all Titans. Because the director has claimed that all life on Earth originated inside the Hollow Earth. They kind of got into this during Godzilla King of Monsters, like they started to show you some of the lore and the ancient history of the Titans. They made it seem like Godzilla's race and some of the other ancient Titans lived above ground in the ancient world and were worshipped by ancient humans of that era. And they kind of made it seem like Gia just descends from that race. Like we see them in the Hollow Earth later in the trailers. Like a group of her race stayed inside the Hollow Earth, but some of them came above ground. So the idea is that all Titans came from the Hollow Earth. At least the way they've explained it in previous movies is that the Hollow Earth gives off this crazy radiation levels that mutated the first Titans from normal creatures that were living there, assuming that Shimo really is the first Titan or comes from the first race of Titans. And over time, Shimo begins reproducing, the radiation begins mutating other types of Titans from completely different species, which is where Kong's race would come from. And because time moves so much faster on the surface, they could explain how Godzilla isn't the first of his kind, but he's still already ancient, and Shimo essentially created his race, or is the progenitor of his race, and she's still alive, living in the Hollow Earth, a captive of Scar King. I think the reason why they haven't talked too much about Shimo's backstory in the trailers and promos is probably just because it's a big plot point in the movie. Like the human characters learn more about the origin of the Titans through Shimo. Speaking of retconning Shimo into the MonsterVerse of movies, a lot of you have asked me if she's the one who froze Ghidorah and trapped him in the polar ice during Godzilla King of Monsters. During that movie, they implied Ghidorah had been trapped in the ice for centuries, if not thousands of years. The director Adam Wingard had previously claimed that Godzilla and Ghidorah just fought an ancient battle at that location. Ghidorah fell, and eventually the ice just froze him over. Because they're introducing all this brand new Titan lore, it is possible that they retcon things to say that it was Shimo with her cold breath who froze Ghidorah up there. Like I said, I don't think they had all the complete Titan lore and history of the Hollow Earth worked out years and years ago when they were making a lot of those previous movies. But at some point, Scar King would have had to gain control over Shimo and found a way to keep control of her. Not totally sure how they explained that. Some of you say you think you can spot a control crystal at the end of Scar King's bone whip. That could be possible. That could have something to do with it. But it also seems like he has her chained up in that lava cave. Maybe she's just weak to heat in general because her ability is cold-based. Maybe keeping her near that flowing magma in the cave just keeps her in a weakened state, so it's easier for him to control her. Because the way the movie's hyping her up, they make her seem like she's meant to be the most powerful Titan, like more powerful than Godzilla in a regular one-on-one fight. But I think the idea is that's meant to be before Godzilla's pink power-up. This also happens with Kong too. Like both of them probably have fights early in the movie that they lose because it looks like Kong loses a fight against Scar King creating the need for them to both get some kind of power upgrade and then work together. So Kong gets his Infinity Gauntlet we keep joking about. They're calling it the Beast Gauntlet in the context of the movie, and it's based on Apex tech that Monarch took after Godzilla vs. Kong. So basically, Kong's gauntlet is kind of like a Mechagodzilla-based gauntlet, which makes sense thematically, like Kong's axe weapon was made from Godzilla scales. Now his gauntlet is based on Godzilla again. They haven't totally explained how Godzilla gets his pink power-up, only that we see him in the cocoon here charging with the pink energy. Mothra gave him a big power-up in King of Monsters, so we'll see if she has anything to do with that in this movie. There are a couple other new scenes of their fights too. You see Kong covered in ice and snow with his gauntlet here. This might be more the Rio de Janeiro fight with him helping Godzilla with Shimo, because all four of them are going at each other pretty close to each other here. But it seems like the general arc of this movie is sort of giving Kong a huge win the way that Godzilla became King of the Monsters or reasserted himself as King of the Monsters during that movie. Like the whole idea is that Kong frees his people from Scar King and becomes King Kong of the Hollow Earth. I already talked about Zuko kind of becoming this surrogate little brother to him, kind of following him around. We'll see how they carry that over to the next movie. While Godzilla just continues to be King of Monsters above ground, controlling all those titans we saw in King of the Monsters. Above ground and below ground, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. It kind of makes you wonder what the threat is going to be in the next Monsterverse movie, because as long as these movies keep making money, they'll keep making them. A lot of people are like, when are they going to do Destoroyah? That would be kind of like the Thanos of their Monsterverse, so if they want to do Godzilla Endgame, that's the character they would probably use. Just because I do think they want to keep this hype train rolling as long as possible, like doing more Kong, more Godzilla movies as much as possible, I think it'll be a while before we see Destoroyah. Let me know in the comments though, what villain do you want them to use for the next movie? Maybe we'll get a teaser somewhere during the end of this movie. If there's any other Easter eggs or references that you spotted in the new trailer footage that I didn't talk about in my previous videos or this video, just write them below in the comments. We'll probably get a couple other big trailers before the movie comes later this month. There's a bunch of really big stuff coming up. We have Invincible Season 2 episodes, X-Men 97 episodes in a couple weeks. I'll be doing videos for all that stuff. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. And click here for my full Dune 2 breakdown and Easter eggs. Great movie. And click here for all my new Deadpool and Wolverine videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.